It is 9 o'clock, October 16th. I'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Mr. Chair, ask Commissioner Newsom for Derek. He's on a 3-hour tour, a 3-hour tour.
You gonna sing that?
Oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Commissioner Vetch is learning about transit today and yesterday.
On the riverboat.
Minutes from October 9th. Does anybody have any changes, corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from October 9th.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hewson, second by Commissioner Potter. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Review and approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, just a comment, a reminder, we do have a public hearing at 9:30 that was scheduled for ditch 33, that was scheduled back in September. Unfortunately, it was omitted from the initial posting of the agenda, so just make sure that that is on today.
Okay.
Should we check? Is that okay that if we do that, or maybe?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, I think you're fine doing that. We mailed notice as required underneath the drainage code, and we also published for 3 weeks.
And that was all take.
Yeah, so the public is well aware of this.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, with that, I'll make a motion. We approve the agenda then.
Nobody else had anything to add?
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Potter. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Consent agenda. Consent agenda. Does anybody have anything to remove for further discussions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewson. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Timed agenda items. Our award-winning auditor, Bob Hevela.
Hey, good morning, Board. It is truly a pleasure so far. I mean, it is truly a pleasure to introduce you to Carissa Aronson. She's my election supervisor. Trinity Nathy in my office, she's the land record supervisor. She also wanted me to echo that it is a true pleasure to have Trinity Nathy in my office. I guess I did not introduce her, but Carissa Aronson has joined us. We did hire on as a temp for elections. She has elections experience with Sibley County. She and her husband built a house here in Buffalo, so she didn't have a job when they moved here. So it's fortunate that Mary Lee Peterson called me and said, hey, if you have a chance to have her come in for temp help, she's a keeper. Well, she came in for temp help, and yes, she is a keeper. So Carissa Aronson is joining me as the election supervisor, office manager. So here's Carissa.
Basically said everything that I was planning on saying. Yeah, so we didn't build a house. We moved to House of Buffalo to be closer to my husband's job in June. I had worked for Sibley County for the last 13 years. I know what direction I was going to be going. So I'm very excited to be here. I have enjoyed my time here at Wright County working with Bob and all the employees in his office.
You don't have to say that. You can tell us the truth.
It was
About the other employees, maybe, you know. So you lived down by Sibley?
I lived in Gaylord for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Where's your husband work closer?
In Rogers.
Oh, he does?
Yes. So we've been commuting and we decided now is the time to move over.
Yeah, that's very understandable.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
About an hour and a half one way.
Yeah. Well, we're very happy that brought you here.
Congratulations and welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome to finally working in the Wright County.
And living in the Wright County.
And the Wright living. Yeah.
Lord, I do want to echo the fact that bringing her on now is baptism by fire. The elections are right around the corner. Her experience at Sibley makes her so efficient now. So she's hitting the ground running. I think the precincts, the municipalities are appreciating the skill sets that we have. So appreciated not only by me, but by the precincts.
Great.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
this is a perfect way, baptism by fire, is to find out if she can handle it or not.
Oh, yeah.
Because early voting has made it more of a challenge for your office than it used to be.
It is. Just as an echo that the 7 days prior to the election, we're going to open up the conference room down here. And we're going to actually have a precinct here in the courthouse.
Oh,
So I hope you all can experience that. I'm hoping that the long lines of DMV don't make it down to the precinct. They'll have their own lines.
oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, listening to the radio this morning on the way here, they're talking that it's up considerably, even from the last time there was an election for a governor
Yeah, oh, 4 years ago?
4 years ago.
The board, we ordered 125% of registered voters, which is a pretty significant turnout. So we did up the ballots, and I anticipate that we are going to see another record.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Great.
And it's okay to vote in the polling places. You don't have to absentee if you don't have to, but if you do want to vote absentee, we'll be ready for you.
Yeah.
Good to
Well,
hear.
absentee has a deadline of tonight or something to register for absentee, right?
No, pre-registration.
To pre-register.
For the general election.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, that way you'd show up on the rosters, but
That's today?
That is today.
Well, if you haven't registered, get in today. Otherwise, they're also saying on the radio that Minnesota is one of 13 states where you can actually register at the polling place. The day or night.
If they don't pre-register.
So, all right.
All right. thank
Charlie,
you,
do you
Mike.
have anything?
No, just welcome, glad to have you, and some good rural experience from Sibley, all right.
one last
I'm from the
echo.
southern part of the county, so I'm down your way, so.
Her experience at Sibley was working closely with the auditor, organizing papers, agendas, and things like that.
Was
She goes,
Joy,
oh my gosh, I got my work cut out here.
was Joy your favorite county commissioner? Joy Coors?
Yeah, that's best not answer that one.
I'm on her with the Crow, she's really nice there, so. They didn't come around too much, huh?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the second item on the agenda, in your packet, you would have seen the September budget report, which is the 60-page plus budget report. Again, we keep trying to condense it down into a narrative that we can post out on the website. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, we're trying to create that landing spot on our website for the public to drill down into these numbers. The budget report that's out there is the drill down detail. So what does it mean? We're at 75% of the year. Our revenues look to be good. Again, taxes was due yesterday, so we should see some tax revenue come in here. But outside of taxes, we are above budget. On the expense side, it's a cyclical thing that we have turned back dollars in expenses. I don't know for sure to what extent we have turned back dollars because we do have the accrual basis presentation. But cash-wise, we look to be doing pretty good. You want me to put it up here, Lee?
What?
So again, you can see, last year budget, last year actual, this year's budget, this year's actual. We're trending very close to last year. Taxes, obviously taxes were due yesterday. We settled those out in November. State grants, we're ahead of budget, but that's basically because Road and Bridge has state grant funded construction. So we got that money up a little bit early. Well, it's the narrative, but we're doing pretty good on revenues compared to last year. On the expense side, you'll see that we always trend a little bit under budget for personnel, these are wages and insurance. Those staff turnovers, staff delay in hirings, they tend to lead to turnback dollars. Again, any turnback dollars that we do actually achieve, we made that decision to transfer those to the debt service fund to help offset future debt services or take advantage of call dates. So instead of reading everything on here, Board, if there's any questions you have regarding the September, we're in a good shape.
Anybody have any questions for Bob at all? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Charlie?
I was late on my eye to begin.
Oh, okay. Motion carries unanimous. You don't look like Brian.
I am not Brian, but I'm going to take this over for him.
Oh, okay.
Brian forgot his bow tie today.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, presenting to you today what has been a long work in progress between our office, the risk management, the administrative department, and trying to work with the county's insurance trust to try to figure out how to get liability insurance for this new joint powers entity that I believe the board wanted to create last April. I think is when it first came about. So this is dealing with the joint powers agreement for the creation of the Wetland Appeal Board, which is going to consist of the 5 members of the Soil and Water Conservation District, as well as 2 members from the board to hear any Wetland Conservation Act appeals that may go forward from here on out. So a couple things that we had to deal with in this is the insurance aspect. We still do not have insurance for this entity. Trying to get through MCIT's steps in the process has been cumbersome, to say the least. So with that, what we had to do in the joint powers agreement is we had to delay any applications for at least 150 days. So about a 5-month delay in this, so that we can try to get that process worked out. But I did want to point out, Soil and Water last night reviewed this. They had a couple of very minor changes to it.
You know about it.
I know.
Okay, I was going to ask Luke, what was it that you wanted to change?
No, what they changed is on paragraph 5, it used to say all meetings. They added the words all Wetland Appeal Board meetings right here at the beginning, just to clarify what board is meeting. And then on the second, page 3, paragraph 14, there's a reference to a policy handbook. I didn't know that they had updated this last year in July 10th of 2017. They made some fee adjustments in their policy handbook, so it's just updating that date on paragraph 14. I think the one that you had, paragraph 14. Yeah, the prior version, I think, had a date of 2015.
So what should the date, is this updated already then, Greg?
What I have here is updated.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Just letting you. I don't believe, the board packet was not updated.
No.
Correct.
So those are the 2 changes that they made last night.
Yeah, I knew it was insignificant, and then I probably should have written it down.
It's very insignificant.
Okay, thank you.
When do you think you'll have the insurance for the?
The problem is MCIT wants a tax ID number, which we can get. They want this new board to meet. We have to create a letterhead. We have to then have this new entity apply for the insurance. We then have to be sponsored by either this board or Soil and Water with MCIT, and then we have to get on their board agenda. And they meet quarterly. So if we get everything done, maybe December if we can move this fast enough.
Okay, so it's
Maybe.
not another 5 months.
Hopefully not. So I did the 5 months just as a, we should have it done by then.
Have they had to turn down anybody for discussions yet?
No, I don't think so.
MCIT, I don't believe so, but they don't get a lot of new business either. So
Okay.
Wright County doing this is something out of the ordinary for
No,
MCIT.
I'm talking about Soil and Water that, I mean, we're not
They
putting
haven't
people.
postponed any hearings.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Greg, just to refresh the public's memory on why we started doing this and what it took to get here. I know there's some concerns earlier about an appeals process. Just that it would be nice if you could refresh the public on how we got to this point and why we're doing this.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Potter, if memory serves me correct here, the board wanted to create this new entity to try to give some of the commissioners in that district where the applications possibly could be coming from an opportunity to have a say in a vote on this new board. So it'd be a 7-person board, 5 members of the Soil and Water Conservation District with 2 county commissioners, and presumably one of the county commissioners being from the district, wherever the application is being held. So that the county, this would basically give the county board a little more say, not a majority say, but a little more say in what happens at the board.
And Mr. Chair, to follow up on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Greg, also the part of this was because of, we do have some people that have been frustrated by the process of the WACA laws and felt like they have not had a voice in anything that's been cut and dried and done. They're not being listened to. I mean, I being a person that's been through that, with that, and I know this way, the people at least have some chance of being heard at Soil and Water when it comes to some a project or a decision affecting their property, because we are here representing the landowners. We want to be within the law, but we also want to make sure they're heard. And to this, I applaud this getting to this point where people actually have an outlet to, if they have a difference of opinion with them, to come with enough evidence and have enough people here where they have a voice in this.
And Mr. Chair, go ahead. If I might just add on a little bit, because I actually had proposed, because the enforcement of the WACA law is, the county board is the governing entity for that. We delegated it to the county board years ago, and I actually had proposed bringing it back, and this was an idea that one of the Soil Water Board members came up with as kind of a compromise that we should give a try to anyway, because I think there's been some rulings from the Soil Water Board in the past that have not been very fair to our residents. So yes, I totally agree with Commissioner Potter, but I'm hoping this works out. I think it has a chance anyway. So
Yeah, I agree, Commissioner Burrell. It's feels, to the residents that have these appeals that it would be a more fair process.
And Commissioner Hewsome knows it well, because one of them was one of her constituents that for one of the most, whatever, we'll let it go at that.
To follow up, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to follow up with that, we try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we can come back and do something else. But this way, now I feel that the public feels that it isn't just hard, fast, here, you're guilty, see you by. They have a chance to explain, and maybe there's something they didn't know, maybe there's some other aspect that Soil and Water didn't know. This way, the people know that they at least had a chance at this.
Okay. With that, I'll make a motion that we adopt the, what is it called, just an agreement, or what is it?
Amended Joint Powers Agreement for the administration of the Wetland Conservation
I'll
Act.
do that, and then I'm going to hold for discussion after, so I'll make that motion to begin with.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Hewson. Commissioner Burrell?
The only other thing, I wanted to thank Assistant Attorney Kreiser for doing a whole lot of work on this. I mean, it's taken a lot of time, a lot more than I think we thought it was going to take, so I apologize for that, but hopefully this is worthwhile in the end, so thank you for all your work.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, I think staff realized, or didn't realize how difficult it would be to try to give an insurance company more money.
Yeah.
It is very difficult here.
The agreement here wasn't the biggest challenge, it was the other things.
It's trying to give our insurance company more money.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest headache.
Okay.
So.
Our end of it was way simpler.
Thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Same sign? Motion carries unanimous. Okay, items for consideration. Since we're not at 9:30 yet, I failed to have somebody do the committee of the whole. So Coordinator Kelly, would you do the first part, and then maybe we'll have Sue do the second part of it, since she's been dealing with the front desk reception? Sound fair?
I can do that.
We want to make sure Sue gets her time in the limelight.
All right, Mr. Chair, Committee of the Whole met on October 8th. We had 2 agenda topics that day. We had all 5 commissioners there, as well as various staff from HHS, Assessor's Office, and Administration. The first item on the agenda was the per parcel rates and fees for the 2020 and 2021 assessment contracts. Tony Rasmussen, the assessor, provided an overview about our current rates and what we've kind of done historically. The handouts are included that show our parcel counts, the salary surveys, the budget worksheet for 2019's budget for the assessor's office, as well as the 2019 rates. Rasmussen said the current rate for townships is $12 a parcel. We discussed what we were going to do with that rate moving forward. There's different discussion of increasing it so we don't undercut the private industry that's out there doing these services, but also recognizing that the county fee has not covered all of the assessor personnel costs. It's only about 1/3 of the cost it costs to retain those staff. So it's about $500,000 we get in income off of this, but it's $1.6 million in personnel costs. Rasmussen projects we'll have future employee increases. Potter referenced incremental rate increases moving forward. Trying to summarize here. So quite a bit of discussion about the pros and cons of adjusting the rate and upping it. Potter recommended that the parcel rate be raised by $1 each year for the next 2 years of the contract, beginning in 2020, to most closely reflect the cost of doing business. And so the recommendation was made to raise the county per parcel rate by $1 to $13 in 2020 and $14 in 2021. It should read for the 2-year contract, which begins in 2020. A quick summary of the first item there.
Thank you.
Board Chair and Commissioners, the second part of that meeting held on October 8th was the front reception desk. There was a outline provided to the board. Basically, our original goal, was to look at allocating an Office Tech 1 out of the auditor's office to the License Bureau, and that allocation would have impacted the front desk. We had tried and we had successfully recruited volunteers to assist with that. And then we discovered that our volunteers, some of them were not able to continue with that commitment. So this came back to the Committee of the Whole. The discussion was, I'm sorry, I really wasn't prepared to talk to this. There was a lot of discussion about what we should do at the front and what was the actual purpose of having somebody sitting at the front desk. We talked about the various signage that's available. We talked about the concerns of other department heads, whether or not somebody was answering phones. Basically, it came down to what is the purpose of the front desk? What do we really want to see happen? Do we want to hire a part-time staff to provide coverage? Do we want to have a combination of part-time and volunteers, or do we leave it as is? There was concern that if this was a position that came out of administration, that we are not staffed to provide coverage for that. And it came down ultimately that the recommendation would be to continue with the volunteer program. We would begin recruitment of a part-time office tech or, Office Tech 1 or appropriate position for up to 24 hours per week and fill the remaining hours with volunteers.
Any questions?
No.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the minutes and the recommendations from the October 8th Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Burrell. Bob, you have a comment?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Those are the recommendations that we're talking about. But one of the things that we did think about was the fact that we do have delay in hiring of staff. I'd like to also offer a recommendation that, Lee doesn't have the staff budget, and Lee does need other staff that he's going to need in the future. Board, I'd like you to consider transferring personnel budgets from my office, from the others that haven't been achieved yet, and give him the budgetary authority to have this body. And then also into 19, we do have contingencies that we could transfer the budget to his office. This would allow him to use the current person that's there. I don't know that that's ultimately what the goal would be, but we don't need to find the temporary people. That person's trained and ready to go. Becky came to me yesterday and said, Bob, we're at our limit. We really need to have help down there. Minlars has been long and laborious. They're getting yelled at. I mean, I hope the public appreciates that it's not the staff here that's causing the issue. It is the program itself. There's frustrations from the public. There's frustration or tolerance from the staff that are downstairs. The board, I'd like you to consider an option. Don't use up Lee's body that he would want in the future, but just realign this body into his department and move the budget amounts to cover it. That would be one solution that could expedite this process. So I know that wasn't part of the meeting, but I do want to offer it now as a resolution.
Well, I think that would be something that would have to go to personnel for further discussion.
Yeah, I would like to go in there and have that discussed out there to see what the proper way of going. Make sure our legal vehicles are there too.
Sounds like something that could work though, so, yeah.
Right, yeah, I think that we,
I'm still confused because if we transfer this person to admin, we're still going to have to hire somebody new for DMV. So
Well, Commissioner,
where's that budget coming
if I
from?
can add, I mean, Becky needs help now.
No, I agree.
And this person is already here, so you want to add anything, Becky, or?
I need somebody, I need a body yesterday. I'm very afraid I'm losing my staff. And public is upset because of the wait times so long. And I think the best thing that we can do is move quickly and try to get somebody hired.
Mr. Chair.
Go
I
ahead.
can talk about this I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bob, and like I say, we need to make this work because all these problems got laid on their lap by no fault of their own. And we have to deal with it because we are a public service. Can't have staff wholesale quit because they're frustrated in the system because that they didn't create. And I think there is a way within this board to make this work with the least amount of pain on everything and still make it budgetary neutral as possible. And using, let's see, unseen or unexpended budgetary items that to make more and make up for this expenditure here.
No, but it's going to have an effect on next year's budget too,
Correct.
and that's what,
right, and
we need to look at the whole picture.
Right.
Right, and it's just hard to get discussed all right here, right this second.
right,
But I do think that it's something that we need to talk to our legislators about, you talk about cost shifts, is that they gave us a software that doesn't work. And the work that used to be done at DMV at the state level is now being pushed upon our local people.
And Commissioners, we're not getting extra revenue.
No, yeah,
No,
that's the other. So you're
exactly.
talking about a cost shift is right there.
it's, yeah, I've heard from the public, they're frustrated. I commend our staff for doing their best job they can. And we do need to do what we can at the local level to kind of mitigate some of these issues. And we recognize we need another staff in that department, but we also need to follow procedure, and figure out how this.
So Commissioners, if I can, we can refer this to the Personnel Committee, but I'll echo now, I'll echo then, that if we move the current body here down to there, our issue is what it is. We don't have the people to come in, the volunteers that we can count on. So to me, having the person who's there who knows how to do it, keep them there, is the best service that we can do to the departments that spoke up at leadership and to the public. And waiting another 2 months could put that fracture on the staff that are really tired of trying to do the best for Wright County, and I applaud them. They were the Department of the Year last year. I'm hard pressed to say that they aren't the Department of the Year again. Even though they're not bringing in the revenue, they are tolerating the public.
Right.
So,
Yeah, are you going to have room for another person at the counter down there? All right, let's, we have a motion on the table regarding the minutes, so let's do that, and then I'll entertain a motion to refer to the Personnel Committee.
And Mr. Chair, I don't think this needs to take 2 months to get another person in place.
No, we have personnel next week, so we should be able to make that decision by then. Okay, so the motion on the table to accept the minutes and the recommendations at this point. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All same sign. Motion carries unanimous. And then I will entertain a motion to have discussion take place at the Personnel Committee regarding a person for DMV.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Potter. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All same sign. Motion carries unanimous. All right. Oh, we got an attorney up there. Must be time for a public hearing.
Another ditch hearing. And our viewership on YouTube goes down right now.
Really, you've been watching the ratings?
Yeah, I'm just assuming.
All right, so we have a public hearing regarding ditch 33. And taking it back from part of it. Did Monticello have all of ditch 33 or just part of it?
Mr. Chair, part of ditch 33,
Okay.
which Matt can kind of explain after I'm done, kind of with what the sections were and what they're looking at trying to do here. So, Mr. Chair, you're acting in your capacity today as the Drainage Authority for Wright County Ditch 33. This is a public hearing on the petition of the City of Monticello requesting reopening of proceedings and partial rescission of an order on Wright County Ditch 33. The drainage system is located in sections 8, 17 through 21, 28, 29, 32, in Township 121 North, Range 24 West of Monticello Township, Wright County. The drainage area is developed for agricultural land use and urban and rural residential. In 2006, the City of Monticello petitioned to transfer a portion of CD 33 to their jurisdiction pursuant to Minnesota Statute 103E.812. This transfer was completed in anticipation of residential development on land that was going to be annexed into the City of Monticello. The Drainage Authority, by order dated September 13, 2006, authorized the transfer of portions of CD 33 to the City of Monticello. After the transfer was completed, the area for the proposed development was annexed into the city. However, the proposed development failed. Now, as a result, in a portion of CD 33, which is lying outside of the jurisdictional boundaries of the City of Monticello, is being controlled by the City of Monticello. Minnesota Statute 103E.812 only allowed for those portions of the drainage system lying within the boundary of the city to be transferred. In light of the requirements of Minnesota Statute 103E.812, the City of Monticello is now petitioning to reconsider the September 13, 2006 order, as it appears it was improvidently granted. The City of Monticello has petitioned to reopen this proceeding and to rescind the portions of the order which transferred part of CD 33 to the City of Monticello. The board mailed notice of this final hearing to all the property owners benefited or damaged by the drainage system on September 13, 2018. Other interested parties were provided notice by publication in the Herald Journal. Evidence of all notices are on file with the Drainage Authority. Substantive comments received during today's hearing, if any, will be incorporated into the final findings for the board. Evidence of all actions in this matter, including the resolution and minutes from the City of Monticello, affidavits of mailing, publication, or posting, as well as hearing agendas and presentation materials, shall be considered the record of the proceedings in this matter. The intent of this proceeding is to determine whether or not the Drainage Authority should grant the petition submitted by the City of Monticello. Based on the comments today, the Drainage Authority may make one of the following decisions. You may accept the petition from the City of Monticello and reopen the proceeding and rescind the prior order transferring parts of CD 33 to the City of Monticello as being improvidently granted. You may accept the petition from the City of Monticello and reopen the proceedings and rescind the prior order with regards to only that portion of CD 33 from Outlet Control Structure 2 to the end of the system as being improvidently granted and ordering the City of Monticello to maintain branches 1 and 2. You could adopt an order rejecting the petition from the City of Monticello, or the fourth option is to continue the public hearing to another date and time certain for further discussion. As requested by the Drainage Authority, please limit your comments to whether or not the petition filed by the City of Monticello for rescinding the prior order should be granted. Comments related to the repair of the drainage system are not germane to this public hearing. The decision standard for the board is whether, based on the proceedings herein, the evidence presented at this hearing establishes that portions of CD 33 were improvidently transferred to the City of Monticello. So,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think Matt can maybe give us an overview of maybe where we're at.
Yep, and just for the public that's here regarding this, you'll have an opportunity to speak if you have questions or whatever. Matt will just go over how that ditch looks and what we are taking back from the city.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I think Greg did a great job of kind of describing the background and the history of this. I will go a little bit into the current state of the ditch, but I just want to reiterate that this is not a repair proceeding. We're really not at that stage yet to, talk dollars or anything like that. Essentially what happened is we were working through to try to get to that point, and we discovered, there were some outlet petitions that basically barred us from doing work in certain areas of the ditch. These areas of the ditch are controlled right now by the City of Monticello. So in order to extend any funds, most importantly the outlet, you would have to go through a different proceeding. So we're kind of here to discuss, why it might be beneficial for Wright County to take back control of these portions of the ditch. So in 2016, Wright County was petitioned by the City of Monticello on behalf of a developer to outlet stormwater into County Ditch 33. With that agreement, it basically piggybacked a previous agreement from 2005, which is not the main issue today. The 2005 agreement was from the Carlisle Village development that was actually constructed and still there today, and it's actually been added on since then. But the main issue is the development for the Hidden Forest Niagara Falls, which was actually never developed. It was 2006 when everything kind of crashed. I think what happened was the cart was essentially put in front of the horse in this case, thinking that a new outlet was going to be constructed, and that is why these portions of the ditch were transferred to the City of Monticello. Just a little background, County Ditch 33 was established in 1917, and that's the last time a redetermination was completed. It's a really large system, 9.1 miles. Most of it is a closed system. In preparation to do some work, we had hired viewers to view the ditch and update the benefits, and we also had some preliminary surveying done on the ditch to try to figure out some of these issues. Obviously, this kind of got put on a hold once we found these petitions, so I don't really have much information regarding repairs. My site visits, I just wanted to discuss a little bit about the current state of the ditch. It's in pretty desperate need of repair. A lot of the tile is broken. We've had blowouts, and this was in actually a person's driveway. So it's a pretty scary issue that we need to hopefully deal with as soon as possible. A lot of it, you can see culverts here where you can barely see the top of them. They're so filled with sediment, and a lot of the old tile from that was, it's completely broken. So we're trying to do what we can now, so this will go a long way in kind of hopefully starting to resolve some of these issues. So essentially what the City of Monticello is petitioning is to reopen the outlet petition for the Hidden Forest Niagara Falls. outlet petition. You know, this does not deal specifically with Carlisle Village, but it was piggybacked on that agreement from 2005. This agreement effectively transferred Branch 1 and Branch 2, which I'll show you in a upcoming slide, and the outlet portion of the ditch, which I don't want to take anything away from the Branch 1 and Branch 2 because it's very vital that, you know, we look at repairing those, but not having control of the outlet is a big issue for us in order to provide drainage rights for everyone down upstream.
Matt, is the outlet in this city?
No, I can,
now,
and I have that on a different slide, but yeah, the outlet portion, yeah. And even chunks of Branch 1 are in township, so that's where it kind of gets to this gray area with the original agreement. But essentially, Carlisle Village, it's kind of hard to see here. Maybe we could get the lights a little bit.
It's
A bit more.
maybe that helps.
So in the yellow and the purple is where you can see the legal ditch alignment. You can see that, you know, the Carlisle Village area, which was constructed, is, you know, southwest of 94 there. And then north of 94 is where the Hidden Forest Niagara Falls development was.
Can you show us where the ditch is on that? I can't see it.
We can't see the
so
colors.
anything in this yellow.
Okay.
There, okay.
Yellow essentially, and this is a little off because there's tile up here.
So there's nothing really in the Carlisle Village that's in the,
There is.
Yeah, Carlisle Village, it has its own drainage system that's not a part of county.
it's like a city stormwater type thing?
Yep, that eventually flows into, so essentially what they did is they,
It goes into the ditch.
yeah, it goes into Branch 2 of the ditch.
And is it connected underground, or is it a surface?
It's a surface and open ditch that flows, and then I think there's a culvert underneath 94 there, which eventually outlets into
Okay,
Branch 2.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. So I won't go into a lot of the original petition because I think I covered most of it, but the main thing that this petition did was it transferred these portions of the ditch in preparation for a new outlet to be created. You know, that was, you know, the hope was that the developers would put money in, you know, for a new outlet. It would have been a 48-inch outlet that would have went all the way to the Mississippi River. So those branches of the ditch and the outlet were transferred to the city, assuming that we would have a new outlet, and then that the branches 1 and 2 would effectively be eliminated because there would be developments in those areas. This is a map that was included with the original petition from the Hidden Forest Niagara Falls, showing the areas that were transferred. So essentially, it's a little hard to see here, but this branch 2 here, branch 1, and then everything from outlet structure 2 downstream was transferred to the city of Monticello. So,
And that one you just mentioned, that is the outlet then?
yeah.
Okay.
So
And then that affects,
everyone upstream. You know, there wasn't a new outlet created.
and it never was upgraded, okay.
So this kind of shows, you know, an overlay, the city's, you know, property. So you can see that there's, you know, the outlet portion is actually technically would be in the township. So their legal authority to do repairs in there. It's kind of been one of those issues. You know, we really need to work back from the outlet and start there in order to figure out issues upstream. So that's why this is such an important issue to kind of discuss today.
And I know we're not talking about it today, but with the development and the impervious surface and stuff, it's, if we just repaired it to its original size, it's probably going to be inadequate. I'm just.
Yeah, and
So it.
Well, Charlie, there's some other things. Let him finish.
Okay,
There's some other things that are related to it.
That's fine. Going off of the discussions from 2005, 2006 minutes, you know, obviously I wasn't there, but that's obviously why there was supposed to be a new 48-inch. I think that was kind of the issue, kind of planning for future development. We're really going to have Houston finish up and, you know, do all their surveying and determine what's actually needed. You know, if there's areas where we can maybe, you know, store water or do that sort of thing. But right now, we're really not at the stage where we can say definitively that, you know, we need to upgrade it or, you know, enlarge the pipe, or maybe it's good as is. Really not there. We just know the condition is really poor for most of the ditch. So I guess with that, open to discussion, any public comments, or if you have any other questions.
Can you show me kind of roughly where the city limits are in the town, in Monticello Township?
It's in the darker.
Yeah, so it's in the
Early.
darker purple would be the.
Oh, that's it, right?
Yeah,
there.
so
Okay.
the little part, it's owned by Premier Bank right now, is next to the city. There was supposed to be some development in there as well.
So what we're proposing to take back is the outlet part, correct? It's not,
And a couple branches too.
we would take those branches that go in the city?
Mr. Chair, I think what happened in 2006 is it was anticipated that a new outlet would be constructed here on the city property.
Got it.
Straight out. And that then this would just kind of just be left there, maybe as drainage just in this area between the neighbors. Matt, can you go back there? Yep. The current ditch, you can't quite see it because it follows the property lines here, but it goes right through the, this is all township.
And
It is not annexed.
there's,
Oh, that's township, okay.
Township, yep.
yeah, so there's actually an open ditch, a stream there, but then there's tile underneath it, so there's a 30-inch tile
So-
that runs underneath the
So
stream
what
bed.
Monticello is up against is they're kind of anticipating this being part of the city, and then they would do the 48. Well, now it's not city, it's still township, and,
We can't maintain it because we transferred it to the city.
And issues need to get addressed.
So yeah, essentially, this is from the Carlisle Village, they already had plans showing where the future outlet was going to go. And then, with that plan, when these Hidden Forest Niagara Falls development came through, the talk was to, just to hand that over to the city, because the hope was there was a new 48-inch outlet that everyone would jump into. Obviously, that development fell through, so we were left in a sticky situation.
this is about as bad as it gets. So now,
It's a county ditch, what did you expect?
Yeah.
They haven't
so now
haven't done anything with them.
now we take it back, and then eventually this probably will be in the city. It will be part of a storm sewer system. I mean, I'm going out, whatever, 20 years or whatever. I can't imagine it not.
We would have to be very diligent in the fact that any future outlet petitions to go into County Ditch 33 would have to be looked at. So the Premier Bank land, which we were discussing here, in some of these areas, if that gets developed, we need to do a better job than maybe previous boards at, knowing what the ditch can handle in its current state. You can only take on so much water based off of the size of the pipe. For oversizing the pipe for, if essentially making it into a stormwater system, then that needs to be kind of discussed, because all the landowners will be paying.
Charlie, though, the part that you probably missed is that there's quite a bit of the ditch 33 on the other side of 94.
Yeah.
Which is in the township.
Yeah.
So the city really can't take over the ditch.
They can't take over the ditch, but I'm wondering if the outlet portion of it, but it's in the township too. Maybe we could just open it up to public. I see Jeff is here from the city. Maybe you can tell us what your vision for this is. You're a smart guy.
Thank you, Board. Jeff O'Neill, City Administrator for Monticello.
Hold it, just 1 minute. I'm going to officially open up the public hearing at this time. So that we can hear from the city, and then we'll hear from residents too.
Oh, but, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First off, I would just like to thank the county staff for trying to tackle this problem. It is difficult, it's complicated. Wanted to kind of clarify a few things with the way the ditch operates and the city's role in contributing water to the system. The city's, in the past, has always tried to regulate the rate of flow into that ditch. So we have systems in place that detain the water so it doesn't exceed the original rate that was there pre-settlement time. So if the ditch was working properly, what the city has done wouldn't have an effect on create flooding, because it would flow and we'd hold water back and it would operate correctly. But because the system hasn't been maintained for years and years, every bit of water that we put in that's greater than what it would have normally been in just contributes to the problem, okay? So in light of that, years ago, the city is diverting water actually out of the ditch. The Meadow Oaks, the whole Meadow Oaks system, the normal water that comes off that development actually goes into a pipe that goes into the river. So we've actually, over time, have reduced the amount of water that's gone into ditch 33. However, there are sections of the city where the Meadow Oaks bypass isn't available, so that's with the Carlisle Village. I mean, that area does contribute more volume than what was previous there, because the water is held back, but it can come out eventually, and it does create, you know, that, or adds to that problem. So back in 2006, 2007, I think your staff did a great job in describing the situation. I really don't have any more to add on that. It was a hope that we could create a bypass, development pay for a big part of that, and we could do correct this situation for good in the area south of or north of 94. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So now, as you know, there's a need to resolve problems in that ditch for the folks that live along it. So to the extent that the city can help, we'd be glad to. We know the $167,000 is an important part of the puzzle, because that was money that we had set aside to actually divert water out of that ditch that's sitting there ready to help solve that problem. So that's pretty much my description of kind of where we're at on it. And any questions?
I do. So you do have a vision? I mean, like, if we're going to do, and then I said this is not a repair meeting, I got that clear, but I'm looking toward the future, though, just taking this on, whether it's the town, the city of Monticello or the county taking control of this system. Should it, if we were going to do a repair later, should it be an improvement? You know, I mean, because you probably know the growth and you know, your engineers have talked to you probably. Should it be increased if we're going to do something out there, and then who would share those costs? Because it's, you know, like I said, eventually I could see this system turning into a regular storm sewer system, and then it should maybe meet those specifications rather than a county ditch, which is a little probably lower standard of a system.
You know, I'm not an engineer,
right,
and I'm not really, you know, I think if the ditch is operating correctly, properly, and we don't add rate to that ditch, we can build urban infrastructure around it as long as we don't increase the rate in that ditch. So we may have to build larger detention basins in our urban areas so that we don't overwhelm the ditch from the urban runoff. So there'll be probably a series of improvements outside of that ditch itself that assures everyone that that ditch doesn't flood because of the way that we constructed the systems that contribute to it. Now, that doesn't mean that someday there might not be another bypass, or, you know, there might be some engineering design that would create a bypass in the future. But right now we have a problem that we have to deal with, and we can't look that far to the future. That area's in the orderly annexation area. Yeah, someday it could be in the city, but it could be many, many, many years. And to try to anticipate what might happen in the future is really difficult while the problem exists.
It's just that we're doing something, you know, eventually this will have a repair, and it's going to be a pretty significant thing. And then I'm thinking, we're disturbing all the neighbors, we're digging all the dirt. Are we going to get criticized for, like, why didn't you just make that into a such and such size when you did it back in 2019 or 18? You know, you bunch of idiots. You should have known by then it needed to get upgraded, you know.
Well, and to that point, I mean, if we could go back 30 years and fixed it way back when, then all of our development that we've added wouldn't have created a problem. So, you know, yeah, you could solve the problem with an urban system, but right now that urban system, that deeper system, there's really no one that will benefit from an urban standpoint because it's too far removed from the current existing city limits, too far removed from our sewer water.
Okay, that's fine. I think I got it. So, and you're saying, so if we just repaired this system right now, any development later you could have another bypass. There's other ways of handling it.
Right.
As well.
Right, and the city there may be loss of development land because we have to build larger ponds to hold water back. There may be some implications that might be problematic in the future because of trying to design around a system that's relatively small, but those are problems we're just gonna have to face down the road that aren't insurmountable and are manageable.
I just don't want to do something and then have to redo it
Redo it again, yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, this is the one that's been kind of kicked down the road quite a ways, and now we're getting to the point where something needs to be done.
Now, you did say, and initially, you'd work with us and help us out any way we could, besides the 167 that was given by the development. What other?
Well, the property that's in the city.
I'm listening.
Yeah, well, the property that's in the city is contributing water to the ditch, and the city would be treated the same as everyone else in the township that contributed. So there would be a pro rata share that the city would pay for the cost to remove the water from the watershed.
I just thought you were going to throw something out.
No,
if you upgraded this to a 30-inch, we could.
Yeah. So, but we would be part of the discussion on design, and maybe down the road, if it makes sense to upsize something that's cheaper now than to do it later. Well, that might be. We'll have our engineer involved, so we'll talk about those subjects as we go.
I'm kind of hogging, but I'll be done here after this. Sorry, but but I'm saying, so you might look at it and say, if we have to put another bypass in when we develop out here, and we have to do this, maybe we'd be better off to invest some money, pay some extra money to get this up to a such and such size now, and then we're ready for it later.
I would defer that to your engineers, and there might be some cost benefit analysis that might be smarter to go a different indirect route or than using the ditch, but it takes some engineering time to do that.
Sorry.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff, I understand in the early 2000s it was the Wild West. Everything was going crazy. And I'm sure that this all had great intentions of happening, and they were trying to get ahead of the curve a little bit, and the economy fell apart, and here we are, later in lap. The here and now is it's got to get fixed. Attention needs to be paid to it now, not 10 years from now, not 20 years from now. And whatever happens 20 years from now, I don't have a crystal ball, maybe you do, but I don't. Maybe it gets annexed in, maybe it doesn't, but the bottom line is this needs the attention it deserves, because I know people that used to live in my town but now live up there in a township whipped by Branch 8 that are concerned because there's been issues with them because nothing's getting out, it's being backed up there. And to me, it's got to be addressed with, and at some point in time, if it all becomes city and it turns into the stormwater system, that's fine, we'll deal with it. Whoever sits on this board then can deal with it, but the here and now, we need to deal with this issue for all parties involved.
Matt, a quick question. On I-94, where they redid, or where they had their test plot, when they redid that, some of that also affected this ditch too, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there was something that happened back then that never got addressed either, which has also put additional stress on this.
Absolutely.
So with the redeterminations, that's going to help figure out a lot better and who's going to end up having to deal with this.
And I think the biggest thing to remember is that this was originally designed as an agricultural drainage.
Sure.
It is not a stormwater system. I can't speak for previous boards. I wouldn't have recommended, adding some of this additional water to it based on the condition it was in. We're in this position now because of those decisions. But I think it's really important for us, for the landowners in here, to make sure we're taking, future decisions very seriously.
Right.
It's obviously caused a lot of issues now.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Matt or Mr.
Just that,
O'Neill?
yeah, I think, moving forward we're looking at a more fair process going forward, and with the redetermination, and certainly the city is one of the benefited landowners, so, yeah.
Commissioner Burrell?
Just before you open it to the public,
It's already open.
It is
It's already
Well,
open
you
to
did
public,
already.
but if you got
Oh,
one
okay. Well,
comment,
before the public comments then, but I'm just thinking, I'm from the rural area, so let's say I'm a farmer out in this thing, I don't want to have to be paying for something that's really, it wouldn't be needed if it wasn't for the city. So I think that's something, but again, that's a conversation down the road, but.
Well, I think, with all due respect, the system's failed, and with or without the city contribution, there would
Oh,
be
yeah.
a problem. So, I mean, to the extent that the city's adding to it, really what's happening is the city is not adding any more rate. So we're holding back the water. So, but where the problem is that we have more volume because we can't hold it back forever. And it trickles in, but because the system isn't working, it's making things
Okay,
worse.
and maybe
So-
I wasn't clear, Jeff. What I
just wanted
meant
to
though
make
is,
that clear.
if I'm a farmer out here and now we have to upgrade it to a bigger system, that part of it isn't really part of my,
well, but the redetermination and the engineering is gonna help
Right.
us figure that out.
okay, that's all I have.
Thank you.
That's above my pay grade. All right, for the public, if you have a comment or anything, again, we're not dealing with repairing it at this point, but anything that you have, if you have information on what had happened back in 1917, which would be very helpful. So if you have something that somebody left you or whatever, you came across something. But anyway, come up to the podium. Please give us your name and address for the record, and state your concerns. And Matt, do you want to go maybe back to a different map?
A ditch from under by the, coming across the freeway.
Where the city and township would be. This one?
What's your name first?
Yeah.
James Biegler, 7396 90th Street Northeast, Monticello.
Able to get that, Susan?
I'll listen to the audio.
I own this 40. Back in maybe 10, 15 years ago, replaced tile from here to here. And it's plugged from here to here. Way back in, when they were doing this development, they came to me because Carlisle Village was being pumping water over the hill to get it out of their area. So they came to me, they wanted a 7% acre deal where they could run water me until they got this new ditch built. At that time, that all failed, so this water came over, they quit pumping, they dropped it across into this ditch, but it's all caved in underneath by freeway here. But anyway, it comes across here. This ditch right here sets full ever since that time, never drained. Right here where it turns the transmission line, this corner, is totally caved in from here to here. This can't drain and this can't drain. When it rains, it runs down the road here, over the road, floods this whole area until it finally trickles out. This is totally caved in. I had to ditch guy out here where that was 5, 6 years ago plus, but that's totally full. Never empties because this is caved in right here. But that's all I got to say about it. I mean, this whole area here is wet on me. Can't do nothing with it no more.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To understand, is that where branch 3, branch 2, branch 1 all come together? Is that where the problem is?
No.
Or am I missing this one?
Yeah, there's a lot of blockage, so this
drains the freeway, but it doesn't drain very good.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure I get my bearings straight on where exactly the problem, this particular problem this gentleman has,
Yeah.
where it's at.
I mean, everything, you could go down through, the tile that's running through the development here, and there'd be issues up there. The main issue we're looking at here is there's an open ditch that's basically, from here to there. So this is, a little bit off. This portion would be tile to about there. But this portion is completely.
But it should be all tile. It should be underground designed.
There is tile designed from here to here, and then tile from up through the outlet there, that's obviously.
So part of this was an open ditch and closed ditch?
No, it was a closed ditch that became an open ditch because it was the only way for the water to go out.
Because they believe they had enough fall from here
should get
down, so
closed.
they would have an open. So
People got a creek in
obviously,
their
a
backyard.
big thing that we'll look at is potential realignments, you know, that sort of thing. And we want to make sure if we're doing this, like Charlie said, that we're going to do it and it's going to work for the next 50 to 100 years. And we're not coming back in 10 years and kicking ourselves because of it.
Yeah.
Like he said, the main issue right here is this open part, but all of the tile here is in terrible shape, you know, so obviously you want to start from the outlet, you know, anything that's tile, it's 100-year-old tile, so I think you're looking at a lot of replacements. So before I could do this repair here, I needed to
Okay, but we're just talking about taking it back at this point. But to answer Commissioner Potter's question, what branches were those?
Right, so this is branch 1.
Okay.
And then branch 2. We have branch 3, which runs.
What about the one to that one right there?
That's a part of the main ditch.
That's part of the main ditch.
Yep. So that's very important to get that.
This whole thing here just collapsed.
And you replaced some of that tile yourself in that main?
Just 33 days to replace this. I got charged for it.
When was that?
And, well, it had to be, I retired. Good, right back at 2/6.
Okay.
7. And another thing, when your contractor did this work, he buried all the damn concrete and keeps coming up to the damn field every year. That was another issue. I signed off, but I was a worker, man. In the cities, and never was worker today because they worked. So I signed off, and sure as shit, we started taking the fields. Tile keep coming up every year. I picked every year. In fact, the guy I rented to quit farming because he's farming because of it. But that's the problem.
But that, where the tile was fixed, then it goes into an open ditch, that was tile in 1917, when it was built. Or not?
1970.
Well, when it was built, it was designed to be tile.
Yeah, this was just, but from here to here was tile, they replaced it. Took the
I got that, but I'm talking about further
Open
down
ditch.
from there.
The open ditch?
Further downstream, yes,
But-
there's.
Was it tile all the way to the river?
No, this is always open from here all the way to where it goes.
It was, okay, okay.
Okay, again, we're trying to discuss about us taking it over and not.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I do want to reiterate for the board that we're not here to talk about repairs. That's not germane to this proceeding. We're here to talk about the petition from the city of Monticello. Yes, repairs need to be done. That's about step 3 in the process. Right now, we're at step 1. Number 2 is going to be redetermination of benefits. Then we're going to get an engineer's
But
report for
this
step
helps
3.
decide whether I want this thing back or not.
I understand that, but I really want to try to keep us on
No, it
point here
doesn't,
to an extent. So, and Mr. Chair, members of the board, and for the public's consideration, at the end of this, I'm going to be recommending that you continue the hearing because there's a lot to digest here. The public needs to understand what's going on here, and I think this needs further discussion.
Okay, we'll move it along.
Than what's allowed today.
We'll move it along, okay.
And to that point, again, yes, it's not a repair proceeding, but it's important to have a functioning outlet.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, that's the main issue we're dealing with here. Right now, we have no legal jurisdiction unless we go through a different process to fix the outlet, so that's kind of why this discussion.
And Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And like say, as the attorney currently stated, this is to figure out if we want to take this back or not, and I do want to respect the time of the people that took time out of their lives to come up here and concerns, because not the city part, you got the township part, but you also get the people part here, and that will determine whether we want to take this back or not. And all due respect to Commissioner Barelsi, you know, there's issues here we need to deal with, but we do need to listen to the people that are affected by it and make our determination whether we want to take this back or not. And whatever happens 30 years from now or 100 years ago, we can't do a darn thing about. We got to do the here and now, what's going on.
All right, does anybody else have any questions, answers? Come on up, sir.
Yeah, Mark Peterson, 7516 90th Street, Northeast, Monticello. Residence is right whole thing was annexed. This was annexed in because this abutted. Take this back, are you taking this back and that one? Is that the consideration? This whole section and this section?
We're taking
Just the ditch, not,
ditch. We have nothing to do with the township or cities. We're just talking about a ditch,
Right.
county ditch.
Within that ditch, properties on it, do they revert back to?
they'll still stay the city. They'll still say,
If you're in the city now, you'll stay in the city. If you're in the township now, you stay in the township. All we're dealing with is a
Anybody
ditch.
answer how this ever got to city when it's not connected?
That would have nothing to do with the county. That would have to do with the orderly annexation between the city and the township.
that's another proceeding
Seems
altogether.
Besides under the table, there's no way that that can be. Besides taking tax dollars away from the township, because it's not connected to anything.
Again, that's what had nothing to do with this county board.
Mr. Chair, just for,
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Jeff is here, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but the areas in purple have been annexed by the city. The Premier land, the one that Niagara Falls development was going to go on, was annexed before the development went in anticipation of the development coming to the city, and the 2006-2008 housing market crash came and the development fell through. So, yes, it is annexed to the city. No, it's not contiguous, but it did go through and it has been officially annexed in. De-annexation, returning it back to the township is not on the table for this discussion.
Just to add to that a little bit, the property was annexed under the agreement with the township. It annexed in anticipation of development. Development didn't occur. Under agreement with the township, if it doesn't develop, the property can revert back to the township. The township was provided that opportunity to take it back, and it was declined. So we're following our agreement. It's still in the city, but actually under our agreement, because services aren't there, that is an option. So something to think about.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And for the gentleman that was asking about the annexation, recall that there was a pretty contentious annexation issue, not only throughout the county, but throughout the state. They got what's called the municipal board, muni board, that deals with these, and for a while there, annexation was all over the board on what was going on. They're trying to rein in. We had our issues up here long before any of us were on the board, because I used to have a business in Albertville that I heard it from people all the time with the annexation, the way it was going on up in Monticello and other areas too. And unfortunately, they didn't do that. That made all parties sit down at the table, and where's an orderly annexation area? We changed the land use plan, everything else. A lot of things happened, transpired back because of the problems created by how the muni board used to do things with annexation. They were all over the board. Nothing had made rhyme or reason per se. Right.
Property line way out there when there's not going to be any services for 25 years.
Correct, and that's, unfortunately, they got caught up in their own, unelected bureaucracy down there in St. Paul. I used to be mayor of Albertville. We had that same issue with this. They didn't make sense. They were everything was arbitrary in my opinion on this, and it needed to get back to the local level, and it finally did come to a head, and it did get back to the local level, orderly annexation areas and this and that. We fixed a problem that we didn't create, but it was there. And is it perfect? Probably not, but it's as good as we could get. And all parties were at the table on this to try to come with a long-term solution to how do we handle this. And hopefully, in the future it'll be better than it was. But the way it used to be, way back when, it was just horrible for all people, townships, cities, everybody. You didn't know which way the wind was going to blow from day to day.
Okay, let's get back to the ditch.
But, Mr. Beegler's point, I see that problem at my property line. The ditch comes in and then goes underneath Beegler's property. So I see the corner, and I see that it does flow. I mean, it's just a horrible problem. And I don't have any issues because I'm upstream and I'm at a higher elevation, but I can look down the field and into the swamp, and fluctuation of water is just, and the MnDOT project was not going to work.
Yeah, and they're going to have to, and hopefully the engineering firm's going to be able to figure that whole deal out. Does anybody else have any concerns regarding Ditch 19 or any comments? Nobody's found any of the original paperwork yet or anything in their back pocket? Well, I'm talking about the stuff from when MnDOT put in that, and how that never got addressed at that time. All right.
Ghosts.
Anybody else have any comments regarding the county taking over the ditch? You had something?
You had a recommendation?
Mr. Chair, my question is, is Monticello Township in favor of us taking this back or not?
Yes.
Because that would be my question, because I don't see anybody, I don't know who's the Monticello Township board, but
they
I would
initiated
imagine
the proceedings.
would have had a response yes or no on this, but I'm just asking the question.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Potter, I'm not sure, I guess the township hasn't weighed in on this one way or the other. The city clearly wants to give it back. We can't do any repairs to the outlet without it being in our jurisdiction. That's kind of the predicament we're in. If I had to guess, I'm guessing the township would say, yeah, take it back. Because then we can get something done for the rural area out there and try to get
The township will benefit.
Yeah, the township residents will benefit if this comes back.
Yeah, just like you say, right now, we can't do anything
Right now, we
because
can't
of the
do
way
anything
it's
with
set
the
up. All right, one more time?
Yeah, and the city's stuck because it's not in their jurisdiction.
All right, one more time. Anybody else have any comments regarding the county taking back this county ditch? Not, then I will close the public hearing we're going to continue the public hearing.
I would recommend you continue the public hearing, maybe to committee of the whole if you want to further discuss this. There's some other implications that I think we should probably go over with some of the Carlisle Village, some of the funding aspects, the $167,000.
Should we continue it to a time and date specific then?
I would, Mr. Chair.
Then we don't have to
I would recommend something after
renotice.
November 6th, given.
November 6th?
After the election, because I know the auditor's office is going to need all hands on deck.
So after November 6th?
Yes.
So the 13th?
Or committee of the whole, anytime that works for the board.
Oh, okay.
13th would work.
Unless we want to do it, when is our committee days?
14th
The 14th.
of November would be the committee day for November.
We could do it then. Is that okay?
Well, either that or the 13th.
Well, the 13th I have extension, soil, water, and I'm pretty,
Don't we also have HHS on Tuesday, the 13th on that particular day because of Monday?
No?
I don't have it listed.
I have HHS on the 12th.
Can't do that.
We
that's
can, the
Veterans Day.
12th, close Veterans Day.
9 o'clock on the 14th. Kind of get it out of the way before the rest of the committee stuff, or you want to go later?
I do it at the end of the committee stuff.
Okay, do it at, so 1 o'clock? Do it after
I'm just
lunch.
thinking, if you do it at 9, all the other committee stuff is going to get pushed
Okay,
back. 'cause
let's
ditches
say
always
1
go over.
1 o'clock on the 14th. How does that work? You okay, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we,
Just because Commissioner Vetch will need to be there, I just want to make sure that if it doesn't, we can still change the time. But I don't think it'll be a problem for him, but
we
you
want
never
to
know.
do it for a time and date specific though, so we don't have to renotice.
Yeah, well, we may have to, because Commissioner Vetch should need to be there for more discussion.
I'm pretty sure he's open at 1 o'clock that day.
All right.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we continue this hearing until November 14th at 1 o'clock PM,
Yes,
I'll
to
second
committee of
that.
the whole.
right here.
I will second that.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Houston regarding moving the date till November 14th at 1 o'clock. And we will probably meet in this room at this point, unless something changes. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for the public, we will be discussing it more in depth on the 14th here at 1 o'clock.
You're welcome to come to that.
Please come if you have. If you find any information that we're not aware of, you're welcome to contact Matt at in the auditor's office. He is our ditch coordinator, which I really didn't introduce him. So if you have a problem, maintenance issues or anything, Matt's the person to talk with. Alrighty. Okay, authorize attendance at the AMC District 5 meeting, October 22nd.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Advisory Committee, Advisory Board updates. Commissioner Potter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Friday morning was the groundbreaking I-94 in celebration of $56 million we were going to receive for the corridors of commerce for the next phase. It was well attended, very cold. I challenged a few people that didn't listen to their mother when they left the house with the proper clothing, because it was a little cold for them. I had proper clothing on. And the other thing, the big announcement there was Commissioner Zelli announced that from Monticello to Clearwater is going to have a permanent third lane, and they're still working through the funding mechanism of it, but that's been under discussion for a while, whether it's going to be a temporary lane or just the $20 million more, make it permanent and done. There was discussion about the gaps and everything else, not the third lane all the way through, but he made the announcement Friday that it's going to happen. That'll be sure be on the website at some point in time, but that was real good news, and right away I called Commissioner Vetch and let him know that was in there. Keep in mind, with that being said, that I anticipate MnDOT coming to lean on the county for a little bit of funding for this. I don't know what the story is or how it's going to do, but I'm anticipating this. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just anticipating they're probably going to make a call and ask, just so the board's aware of what might be coming in the future there.
Well, they need to fix the eastbound problem first.
The what?
The eastbound problem.
Say that one more time.
The eastbound problem.
East.
Okay. That's, the eastbound is part of.
Because that was all backed up this morning again. When you take from 3 lanes and run it down to 2.
Correct.
It doesn't work.
But we do keep in mind with that, Commissioner Glyden, that not only MnDOT Metro, because that's a different district than us.
Yeah, I realize that.
But also Met Council has decided to address that because they've felt enough pressure from enough people to actually quit creating that bottleneck and actually open that. They do have a plan in place to address that. I mean, the eastbound one is a problem. It's been a problem for a long time, and it was created through whatever means, but it is on the radar, not only with MnDOT Metro and the Met Councils give it the blessing, get it done, get it fixed, because enough people complain. So that is being addressed at the same time, but I can complain all I want, but that's a different district, and I have very little say. They'll say, oh, thank you for your words, but go away and we'll talk to you later. But I'm worried about our District 3 and our county. That's my main focus on this. I mean, still down there talking about that one, but this one's the main one. So that was really good, and Commissioner Houston was there, and Commissioner Glyden was there too, and Virgil did show up.
It was really a good crowd.
Yeah, and I'll just let the record reflect that Commissioner Houston used me as a wind block.
Yeah.
Keep herself warm.
Thank you.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Coordinator Kelly, do you have anything?
Just a quick update. We met as the branding committee. We've been meeting quarterly just to keep the momentum going. As you recall, we were transitioning by the end of the year to our new branding, utilizing our style guide, and department heads have been pretty good about moving that forward. So we were kind of talking about the end of the year and any logistics that we have for making sure everything's been collected and keeping the word out to those that haven't made any changes or haven't made the changes necessary to pick up those last remaining documents and things. So had some good efforts working on co-branding, so it's going pretty good.
Good. Commissioner Burrell?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually do have met with the Minnesota Rural Caucus yesterday up in Glenwood in Pope County, and had a presentation with about 6 different things, from Enbridge to mining to broadband to whatever. We had a bunch of different topics, but a couple of them really interesting. I just thought I'd share a few things. Up in the Iron Range, whatever we'll call it, the Duluth complex in northeastern Minnesota holds one of the largest undeveloped non-ferrous metal resources in the world. They are the second, globally, just think about this, they're the second largest copper deposit in the world, the third largest nickel deposit, and the second largest metal complexes, the PGMs they call it.
Things that go into cell phones.
Yeah, and then, yeah, that was some things that was kind of interesting, the uses. The things that when they open a mine that has to get cleared by Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, Minnesota Department of Health, tribal governments, U.S. Forest Service, U.S. Bureau of Land Management, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. EPA, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, amongst others. But the one thing that they mentioned, and I never thought about this, with the new cars, the hybrids, with the batteries, they're using a lot more. Like a typical car right now has 42 pounds of copper in it. The hybrids have 75 pounds. So the people that want to drive these hybrids should not be against the copper nickel mine up north, which finally did get clearance anyway. So, but it's really, it was an interesting thing. And then the other comment, there was a lady from Enbridge there, and she said that they got this ruling on the tax for the counties that are up there, and she said these are counties that have been partners with them, and they're not looking to put them out of business or put them into debt. So they're going to work with the state and work with them to that's what she said. I'm not sure what that entails, but she made it sound like that these counties aren't going to just be left in debt like they would be if they had to pay that money back right on the spot. So, and that is all I had for right now.
Okay, I just got a text from Derek Vetch, and he said November 14th at 1 o'clock is good for him. So
Okay.
I won't have any issues with that.
That's what I thought.
Well, I wasn't sure about transit meetings or anything like that. So, all right, Commissioner Newsom.
Well, I was at the State Community Health Advisory Committee up at Cragun's in Brainerd last Wednesday, and some good discussions about improving the reporting for the elder abuse. They're still a little behind on that, and also on the opioid crisis and mental health, those topics that keep coming up everywhere basically. And at the City of Buffalo last night and did the budget presentation, and I would encourage everyone to go onto our county website and look at the county board budget presentation, and also for more information, look at the minutes of October 9th, and they can go in and see all the minutes of the budget meetings that we had in August and September for kind of some background on the decisions that we made.
And just to echo that, I wholeheartily agree. And also to the public, this is the preliminary budget, or preliminary levy. It can still go down. It's not set in stone. We have to submit to the state by a certain date that this will be the maximum, but it can still go down. And hopefully we can figure out some additional amounts. Is that it then?
That's it.
Commissioner Potter and myself, we did present that budget to the city of St. Michael on the 9th. Big crowd of 4 people, 5? 4. It went well. They were understanding. People understand and that we're with this new, that we're planning for the future instead of what has been done in the past. I was at Safe Schools on Friday in Rogers, and they have a lot of the same issues that every other school has, and the discussions about what kids are doing with those e-cigs and what they're putting into them, and in the bathrooms, and some of it's odorless, and they just kind of, it's a big issue.
Yeah, the odorless is becoming more of an issue.
Yeah, and the way it sounds that a lot of the SROs, school resource officers, when they take these, that the public health has been using them for show and tell and discussions, and that it sounds like they have way too many, that they're pulling that many from the kids. And they're so inexpensive, they just go out and buy another one after they lose it. So it's definitely an issue. Parents, keep an eye on your kids. And I think that was about it. Yep. So, we have a closed committee meeting at 11 o'clock?
10:30.
10:30.
10:30?
10.
10? 10:30? Go ahead, 11.
That would be like right now.
Anyway, be there nothing further. We are adjourned at 10:31.